Hmm.
Yeah, everything is good, guys.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So now okay, let's understand like this. One more way I'm giving, right? One more way, like what is the stateful stateful vs versus stateless. Stateful versus stateless, right? Stateful versus stateless, right? So in case of what is that web application, web application, end user, right? End user data is what is that? Store, right? Store in session for what? For a period of time, right? For a period of time, why I'm telling period of time, friends? Because see, whenever we are logging, right, it's not meaning that, just assume that you guys are opening your Facebook, uh, 24 hours. You guys are not just for a 1 hour, 2 hour, maximum 3 hour, right? Just you guys are using your Facebook in a day, right? Come on, people.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, Ravi.
Yes, Ravi.
Yes,
So
Ravi.
whenever you are logging, right, until unless you guys are not logged out, right, you guys are and then if anybody want to see that, you guys will show online only, na? Come on.
Yeah, that day. Yes.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
yes,
Yeah, means what
yes,
is that? Some period of time only you guys are using or if your Facebook or not. Come on, some period of time
yes,
Yes,
only you
Ravi.
guys are it's not meaning that
Yes, yes.
24
yes.
24 by 7 only you guys are using, huh? No, na?
Yeah. No, no.
No,
Session
No.
time.
no.
So that's same things. What is that? In case of what? Web application, because this kind of things will happen in the web application only, right? Web application where end user data is stored in what is that? Session for a period of time only, right? But in the case of web services, now these things I'm talking about, that what is that? Stateless behavior. These things comes under what? Stateless behavior. But in the case of stateful behavior, this concept, this things is comes under what is that? Stateful behavior. But I'm talking about what? Stateless behavior, right? So but what is that? But web services, right? Web service, right? In web services concept, in web services concept, what? In web services concept, consumer, what is that? Consumer needs what? Services. Consumer need what? Services,
From
right? Services from what? From producer.
producer.
From producer, right? Producer. So this case only what is that? Authentication required. This case what? Only authentication if exist, right? If authentication is exist, if authentication is only authentication exist required, right? Authentication existence required. Okay, so but what is that? But no data store required. No data store required, right? Store required. That stateful authentication is used in what is that? End user application, right? Stateful authentication required only what is that? Whenever end user is include. Here what is that? End user is include or not? Who can use the browser? Only end user, right? Come on,
Yes, Ravi.
right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
But here
Yanni.
who is the who involved? Two servers are involved, right? Here in web application, whenever we are developing, sorry, whenever we are web services application, whenever we are developing web services application or distributed web services application, only we are saying that distributed application, right? Whenever we are developing, what is that? Web services application. In this case, what is that? Two server are involved. End user is not involved, right? End user is not involved. Two servers is communicating to each other, right? Each other in this situation, right? In this kind of situation, what is that? No data is stored required, right? No data is stored required. That concept is nothing but what? If the data is not storing in server producer side, then what? That concept is nothing but what? Stateless behavior, right?
Ravi, hi Ravi.
Huh.
Hi, Ravi. In
Huh?
stateless without, yeah, in stateless without session ID, how can we remember that it is valid authenticated?
Yeah, I know that your doubt is correct. Please wait. What I said now, everything I will clarify your doubts, right? Don't worry. Still, just I started now. Next concept is that one only. That is a for that purpose only we are using JWT. Na?
Yeah, okay.
Tokenization concept will come, man. Wait, right? If you guys are believing on me, right? So don't worry.
Okay.
Once if I'm completing the session, if still your doubt is there, then ask, right? In between
Yeah,
still,
just I'm getting that.
yeah, still session is going on, right? With the patients, just whatever current discussion is going on, involve in that discussion only. Those things I
Yeah,
will take care. Those things I will take care. Initially I said, nah, I will explain JWT. What? Why I said? Because without JWT, there is no possibility. So the
yeah, okay.
possible, yeah. So now here, what is that? Stateful, right? Stateful authentication. Stateful authentication used in what? End user application, right? Application concept, end user concept, right? End user concept, that is what is that? Authenticate and what is that? Store end user data, right? And what is that? Stateless authentication used in what is that? Application in application to application communication, application to application concept, right? Concept, right? Here what is that? Here what? Authentication. And what is that? Authentication, just only authentication required. Do not store application data, right? Application data. So okay, so just now, okay, someone, just whatever your doubt is there, I'm entering in that in that area. Please focus on that, right? Your doubt will clear. Right?
Yeah,
Now,
Ravi.
yeah,
JW2 security concept using in B2B application.
just see that, right? Wait, right? Just see that. Okay, I'm going to start it. Your doubt will clear. Don't worry.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's see that what is that stateless authentication workflow, friends, right? Let's understand what is that stateless authentication workflow. So everyone is ready to see that area now?
Yes, Ravi.
Yes.
Yeah. So now let's understand here what I'm stateless. Stateless authentication workflow. Okay, so just assume that, right? Just assume that here what our consumer application is there. Consumer application is there. This consumer application is running what? Server 1, right? This consumer application is running inside that what? In the server 1, right? In the server 1. And here what? Here producer application. Producer application is there, and this producer application is running what? Server 2. Server 2, right? This producer application is running in the server 2. So here what? Here this application is there, right? So server 2 application is there, and here what? Server 1 application is there. Here what? Server 1 application is there. Okay, fine. So here what is that? Here what is that? If a consumer want to access services, right? Services from the producer, then what he can do now? Just he can make the request to whom? He can, means what? Consumer can make the request to whom? Server and a producer with what is that? With what is that? Credential, whatever producer is provided to consumer to access his services, right? Come on, people are getting my point. Request, then then consumer can make the request using what is that? Using that username and password, pwd. Okay, password required, right? Then what will happen now? Then request will come to whom? Producer application. Then what will happen now? In the producer application services, what will happen now? This one will validate. This one will validate. And then what will happen now? Then if the request is valid, if request is what? Valid, then what will happen now? Then service, then service will provide. Then this producer service application, then this producer will provide the services to whom? Consumer. Then this services will provide to whom? Our consumer application, right? As a response. As a response now. Okay, now one time he uses, a consumer uses, right? Consumer uses, but just it's not meaning that, just assume that frequently uses as there of our what? Our producer. So just only one consumer, just assume that this consumer only, the same consumer only again want to access these services, right? Again this consumer want to access these services. Then what will happen? Then what will happen now? This consumer again will make the request. This consumer again will make the request to whom? Then this consumer is started to making the request again with what is that? With the credential only, with the same credential, right? Then what is that? Request plus what is that? Username and a pwd, right? With the pwd password, with password, right? Then what will happen now? The same thing again will happen in what? Producer's side, right? Again what will happen now? Validate, right? Validate. Then what is that? If the authentication is correct, means what? If the validation is perfect, then service, then it will provide the service, right? Then it will provide the service to whom? Our consumer. To whom? Our consumer. As a response. As a response, right? as a response. So just assume that if the application is making the 100 time request, right? If the application is making 100 time request, what will happen now? Every time validating, then it will provide the services. And every time credential, it if this application is sending the credential, that is not good approach, right? That is the not good approach. In this application, what is that? Problem, workflow problem is there, right? Workflow, every time we need to send, what is that? Credential. Every time we need to send the credential to whom? Producer, right? So if we are, if like this, then this is the problem, right? The problem inside that, what problem is a, what is that? Workflow. In this workflow, what is that problem is there? Problem is there. What is that? Every time we are sharing the username and password credential to our what? Our consumer applications. So like, then what is that? Then what concept we will use? What concept we will use? Do not send every time. Do not send, what is that? Do not send every time username and password. Username and password. Then I'm designing again one more diagram, right? So now, then what we will make now? Then again the same stateless authentication only we will use, right? Stateless authentication workflow we will use with what? With what? Tokenization concept. With what is that? Tokenization based application. Then we will use what? Tokenization web application. There only we will use what? JWT. JWT. There we will use what? JWT. So now if our application we are developing based on that JWT tokenization, right? JWT tokenization, how it look like? How it look like? Let's see that. Let's see that now, friends. Okay, let's see that again. The same structure I'm designing with, what is that? Tokenization based authentication. The same application only, sorry, same flow only I'm going to explain with, what is that? Tokenization. With the tokenization, right? So what will happen now? Just what? Same only. Let's copy paste itself only, the same only. Now copy and pasting here itself only, and some changes I will do inside this this working flow, right? In the working flow workflow, I'll made some changes. Okay, fine now. Okay, fine now. So here what? Here whenever we are developing our like what? Application with, what is the token based, right? Token based authentication. Token based authentication. Then what will happen now? What will happen now? First time end user will make the request. First time end user will make the request with what? With what? Username and password, right? Username and password. And whenever we are using, what is the tokenization concept in the producer side, right? In the producer side, what will happen now? First request will come. First request will come. After getting the request, what will happen now? Here in the producer, what is that? Token. This producer will generate one token for some period of time. For some period of time. With this request, first time the consumer will make the request. Means what? This consumer will make the request, and this request will come to what? This producer application. In the producer application, first time this application will validate, right? First time this application will validate. After, then what will happen now? This request will generating in the token. This application will generate in the token, right? Token, and this token will give to whom? Our service, and this service will give that with the same request plus token will come. In this time, what? In the response, what is the, sorry, in the response, what? Response plus token will come. Response plus token will come. After, then what? After, then what? Again this consumer is making the request. Again the consumer is making the request. Then what will happen now? This consumer will make the request. In this time username and password will not send. In this time what will happen now? Username and password will not send. What will send now? This token only. In the request what will happen now? This token, our application will send. What is that? This token. This token, right? This token. And what will happen now? In the request again what will happen now? This token will come to what? Our producer application, right? Our producer application. And then what will happen now? Our up in this time what will happen now? This what is that? Our producer will validate what is that? This token. Because what is that? Why it will? Because whatever token I generated and whatever token I given to you consumer, again whenever you are making the request, that token is matching with me or not, it will check, it will validate that token, right? It will validate that token in this application, right? Then what is that? Then token validate the token, validating the token, validating the token, right? If token is perfect, means whatever this producer is produces token, if the this token is perfect, right? This token is nothing but, friends, this username and password will become encrypted format here. Encrypted format here, right? Then what is that? Then then in this time what is that? It will validate the token. If token is correct, then what is that? Again the services will give to whom? Consumer. This concept is nothing but what is that? Token based authentication. This concept is nothing but what is that? Token based authentication. Now clear, friends?
Yeah, Ravi.
Huh?
Yeah, just
Okay, so now fine, friends. Okay, so now stateless, let's understand little bit what is that more in this area, right? Let's understand, because based on that, see boss, even the so many experienced people also confused in the token based authentication, friends. Okay, so please listen the session. If really your doubt is coming, it's appreciation for me, because why? When the doubt will come, whenever the people is putting their brain right to understand anything, it's a really appreciation for you people. But the thing is, even the experienced people also sometime is sometime confused in the tokenization as well, what? Because these things is not really easiest way. But don't worry, don't scare, right? Only human only is doing these things, na? So please listen carefully. If doubt is there, again ask. I will try to, what is that, inject the things in your brain. Okay, so now fine, right? So stateless, right? Stateless authentication. Stateless what? Stateless authentication with what? With token management. Let's understand what is that. Stateless authentication with what? Token management, right? Token management. Okay, so session, what is that? Session work only for what? Web application, not for what is that? Distributed application. Got it my point, friends? Web application, see, distributed application also web application only, but the both are running in the different server. But here why I'm talking about that web application? Because here end user is involved. But what in the distributed application, what? There is a no end user, only server to server communication is there, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
point, the first point, what is that? Session works only. Session works only for what? Only for web application. Only for what? Web application. Even not for non Java application. Even for what? Non Java application also, right? Now here session means HTTP session. I'm talking about what? HTTP session, right? So now in case of distributed application, right? In case of what? In case of what? Distributed application. In case of distributed application is nothing but what? I'm talking about web services. I'm talking about web services, right? In case of what? In case of what? Distributed application may be connection, right? Connected using what? Different consumer may be connected. Here what I said, that just I given the example of our Zoom meeting only, right? Because see, here I'm taking the session in the Zoom with what is that? Some people is joining with Android phone. Come on. Some people is joining with the Android phone. Some people is joining with Mac operating system. The same Zoom meeting, right? Some people is joining with what? Some people is joining with what? Just assume that a Windows operating system. Come on. People are joining this Zoom meeting with the different OS or not,
Operating
friends?
Yes.
system. Yes,
Right?
yes,
Yes, yes,
right.
Right? So
yes.
so it's in case of, right, in case of web application, it's not meaning that what is that our consumer is there in the Java application, and producer can be in PHP, producer can be what? .NET. Clear?
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
Yes.
So in case of distributed application, maybe, right, maybe connected using what is that? Using different consumer, right? Consumer and what is that? Producer. Consumer and producer for storing all data, right? Data. So for example, I'm giving what is that? For example, just some examples I'm giving you guys. Okay, some examples I'm giving. What? Some examples. Just assume that iOS client is there, right? iOS client to Java application communication, right? Java services, Java services. Angular application is there. Angular application is there. Angular application to what is that? Java application. Java application, right? Application. Okay, book my show application. Just assume that book my show application is there. Book my show. Book my show application connected with what is that? Paytm. Paytm, right? Paytm. What is that? Paytm, na? Paytm. Paytm, right? So it's not meaning that Paytm is the developed by with the different language. Book my show application is running what with what is a different language. Now clear?
Yes.
yes, sir.
So
Yes, Ravi.
just if whenever we are talking about that, if any interviewer is asking, right, where the stateless where the stateless concept is there in our web application, just directly tell, right? Whenever we are developing distributed application, means wherever our consumer and producer communication is there the our HTTP is what is that? Stateless. By default HTTP is stateless only. By default HTTP is stateless only, but whenever we are developing web application where the end user is involved, in this situation what is that? Session is working. That session is what is that? Managing what? Request, log in to log out. The data is remembering our session memory. That's it. So here what? Here what? Stateless here, stateless concept here stateless concept is used between what is that just I'm giving what is that distributed application, right? In what distributed application that is nothing but what is a, we can say consumer and producer communication, consumer and what producer only. Producer only, right? Producer only. Got it my point?
Yeah, Ravi.
Yes, yes.
So now the problem is here in this situation, what is that friends, right? So in this situation, what is that this why I said this is not a good approach, because every time whenever our consumer is making the request, right, every time what is that he's sending the request as a, what is that username with what is that username with password, and this again every time this one is validating, right? Validating, and this one is returning, then this application is giving the services to consumer, right? So consumer, so here what is that in the first time only this one is taking that, and this producer is converting that what request in the one token format, right? One token format, and that token is giving to whom? Consumer. And that token, if this producer is every time you using that token, means what is that little bit burden is decreased or not? Little bit burden is decreased, means what is a without token, if we are making the request to producer, that is not good approach, right? But if we are using the concept of what is that tokenization, that is the only good approach, and that is the industry standard only, right? Just why I explained what is the problem with one, every time we need to what send a credential, right? Credential only. So if stateless stateless authentication, if stateless authentication is used if stateless authentication is used with without token, without token management, then what? Then for every request, right? For every request, what is that consumer application should send what? Send user and what is that password detail, right? User detail and password detail, which is not a good approach, good which is not a good process, what is the better means what? Better to better generate better to generate what? one token and what is that send to consumer send to what? Consumer application, right? Application. And what if consumer is sending consumer is sending valid token, then valid token to, right? Sorry, valid token to producer, right? Producer then after validating it, producer will what? Give service. That is what good approach. That is the good process. Clear?
Yes,
Come
Ravi.
on. So the thing is now till everything is depending on what? Token only we are saying, right? Come on. The
Right,
question
right.
that is the, but the question is what? Noise is happening, please. Please, noise is happening. Yeah. So every time we have token Ravi, you are telling every time token we are generating. What is, but the thing is how we are generating the token, right? How we are generating the token. Come on. So now let's see that. Now let's understand. See, stateless and a stateful is different things, and a token generating token and a generating token and all those things is different things, friends. Okay, both are the different thing, but whenever we are working in the distributed application, we are using the JWT, right? So let's understand first what is that. What is the JWT? How the JWT is look like? If the JWT is generating the like what? Token, how the token is look like? Let's understand about that one. Everyone is ready for that, friends?
Yes, Ravi.
Yes.
Hey, people,
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
just one things. People like people feeling bored, and that's the concept. Whatever concept is going on, that concept is really useful.
yeah, it's interesting, Ravi.
Really useful.
Concept is really useful
Yeah,
because industry will follow.
yeah. So now, good friends, let's understand, right? So the question is what? The question is what? Our question is like how to generate token. How to generate token, right? So whenever we are talking about the generate token, right, then the one things only will come, what? JWT. What will come, friends? JWT, right? Come on, now we are entering in the JWT. So JWT, what is that? JWT stands for JSON
Jason.
web token. JSON web token, right? JSON web token. So this concept this concept is used only for what? Only for generating and what? Validating token at any environment, or what is that? Or any language application. Any language application, right? Any language application, like what is that? It support JWT support, what is that? Any language, friends, right? It support what is that? Language
Support any language.
like PHP also, Python also, .NET also, our Java also, so many language, etc, right? Etc only I'm giving, right? So many languages it support, friends, right? So many languages it support. So Java, okay, so JW token is generated where now, friends? Where we I said now JW token is generated by what is that? Producer application, right? because see here, what is that? Who is the generating now? Here I said na, because consumer just using the token, but generating by whom? Producer application only, right?
Yes.
So whenever this producer is whenever producer application is generating